Hello and welcome to Speaking of Listening. I'm Arnie Buss, relationship coach, communication author, and workshop leader. One of my favorite quotes from Game of Thrones was from Ygritte, and her refrain was, "You know nothing, Jon Snow." Pardon, I can't do the accent. But there was something really compelling about that. I mean, I loved how Rose Leslie just really gave every time she said it such great nuances, and their relationship was one of the high points on Game of Thrones. Season 8, not so much, whole other story. But that's not what this is about. What today is about are conflict. Now, think about the last argument that you had. Now, as I've said before, the conflict in every relationship is inevitable, and there doesn't have to be an argument. In other words, you don't have to attend every fight that you're invited to. And the thing is that sometimes we find ourselves in the midst of it. Avoiding conflict and sweeping it under the rug, that doesn't work either. Arguing about it, fighting, that actually tends to be counterproductive as well. So what's the solution? The solution, in my experience and opinion, is to change the way that we are using language. And just recently, I mean, there's lots of content about this. I was watching a video, and the advice that was being offered, I felt was using language that I found to be counterproductive. And the first one, the advice was that in an argument, if you're kind of instead of stating your side, the suggestion was to instead say, "Oh, I understand your position." Now, in a way, that can be a little better than continuing to defend or justify or explain. Maybe marginally better, but it still does not go far enough. I mean, in the examples that were given were clearly scripted. And of course, if you're scripting both sides of any of these things, you can make it come out exactly how you want it to. One of the reasons why I have been advocating for the skills that I learned from Salwa Saeed is that they were the first ones that I found to actually be useful in the wild. Okay, so what's wrong with "I understand"? And it's basically it's the "you know nothing, Jon Snow" type of thing. If somebody says they understand without demonstrating that they do understand, then if you're in the midst of an argument, that's just not going to land. And in fact, if anything, it's going to make it worse, because you're going to and this was my experience too. Whenever I said, "Oh, I understand," the response was, "No, you don't. You have no idea." So has that ever happened to you? Now maybe it works. I mean, if it's worked for you, leave me a comment in the chat. I'm always open to hearing what others' experiences are. My experience is that if you saying I understand without demonstrating that you do understand is going to land flat. So as kind of it's as kind of a get out of jail free card, that is a non-starter in my view. In fact, even when I was learning from Salwa, whenever somebody would say, "Oh, I understand," she would respond, "You don't understand anything." And that's pretty much the response that I've gotten whenever I have used it. And again, your mileage may vary, as they say on the internet, leave me a comment if that's been your experience. So what can be done instead? Now, the key is in what I said, that saying I understand without demonstrating that I do understand is going to land flat. Just as saying you're going to do something and doing it are two entirely different things. It's the action that makes the difference, not the words. Okay, but in a conversation, words are pretty much all that we have. So what are better words? Well, better words are about tracking. And especially in a heated argument or conversation, however you want to call it. I mean, I don't believe that arguing is necessary. And the fact is that things can get a little heated, especially if one person is not feeling heard and understood. What is the most effective way to feel heard and understood? And that is tracking. And I have other videos about tracking. I'll be talking about one in a little more detail, but basically, here are words that are going to be more effective. And typically, if somebody if you're hearing something that's very charged, there's a want beneath what they're saying. So, it might be, oh my God, our finances are just out of control. We're, you're spending too much money. Okay, so how can we respond to that? Well, we can defend. Well, you spend just as much money as I do. That's kind of a counterattack. That's not even the defense might be, well, I'm not spending that much. I mean, it's not such a big deal. Or to just explain, well, everything that I've spent on it are things that we've needed. I mean, that's not going to land. So beneath their statement is often a want. Now, in lower energy tracking, we want to kind of slowly peel the layers away, like an onion, or just layer at a time. But in a heated case, we can go right to what the want is, because that's what's going to connect. So now, in this scenario, so what if I say, oh, I understand what's that you're upset about this. Well, duh. What about what is the want? So my answer, my alternative to saying I understand is to say, so you want. So you want to have the finances be under control. You want to make sure that we don't go into debt. You want to make sure that our credit score stays good. And that is, and whatever it may be in the situation that you're encountering. In other words, instead of saying I understand, you show that you understand by reflecting the want using tracking. And if you're a little, if you're having a hard time kind of coming up with something, the training wheels that I like to talk about are the so you want. So if you begin a sentence with so you want, and then see what can logically happen after that. I mean, if you've been attending to what your partner or what the other person has been expressing, then it will actually become pretty clear. Now, the other key to this is maintaining your own your own sense of presence. Now, which is where another set of, to me, counterproductive advice comes in. The advice that I hear a lot is, okay, if the other person is agitated, you stay calm, and you now that's actually not such bad advice, except that we often take that to mean that we should be responding in a way which is calm. And I think people who whoever gives this advice, that is, if the other person is agitated, you respond from a calm place, has never, they've either never been in an argument or they've forgotten how this goes. Because, think about the last time that maybe you were upset and the other person was calm. Does that tend to lower the temperature? See, the presumed logic is that, oh, well, okay, if they're agitated and you're calm, then they'll calm down to meet you. Doesn't happen. Never happened. If they're up here energetically and you're down here energetically, they're just going to go even higher. Why? Because the message, the meta message you're sending by being calm is that you don't get it. In other words, you don't understand just by your energy. Even if your words are wonderful, your words could be the most beautiful tracking statement in the world. If they are not offered at an energy level that meets them, or at least is at least just a little bit under them, it won't land. It will convey the message that you don't understand. You don't get them. If so if you respond in a manner which matches the energy, so you want to be assured that our finances stay stable, or, so you want to be assured that our finances stay stable. Okay, that's not going to land. The first one, chances are it will. In other words, matching the energy. Remember that most of communication is nonverbal. I mean, we all know that. And so if that's the case, and it is, your nonverbal message sends much more than you think. And that's why responding in a calm, measured, logical voice when the other person is upset or agitated never works. So don't say, I understand. Instead, show that you understand by tracking. Don't be calm. Or, okay, well, here's the case, the sense in which that advice is. Inside, remain calm. Don't be agitated on the inside. On the inside, remain calm and centered, and your energy must match what the other person is doing. So from a calm place, don't respond in a calm manner, respond in an energetic manner. And so the important, it's the inner versus the outer. On the inside, we're centered. On the outside, we raise our energy. Not our anger. We don't respond to anger with anger. Respond to anger with a centered energy that shows by the words that you understand via the tracking, but you don't say you understand. In other words, show, don't tell. Now the other, actually, it was in the same video. They were suggesting kind of moving from the conflict to to working together to solve the problem, and that is absolutely a great place to try to go, because in terms of an outcome. In other words, whether it's a couple, whether it's in business, whether it's just any relationship. I mean, if there is a conflict, then there really is a problem, a joint problem, that if the two work together to solve it, in other words, if you take the problem out between the two people and kind of put it out here, where the two of you are now facing the problem and working on finding a solution that's mutually beneficial, that is that's the outcome that is most desirable. The question is how to get there. And the suggestion was to use the word let's work together to do that. And that suffers from the same defect, as I understand, because in the midst of that conflict, the other person is not going to be open to hearing that. But here's the hidden message behind let's that they're going to respond to. By using let's, you are speaking for the other person. And that is counterproductive in the context of a conflict. In the conflict, and it's for the same reason that I don't understand doesn't land, because I understand says, okay, I know what's going on with you. And saying, well, let's work together to solve this problem. And that's a great thing to say when things are calm, but when things are not calm, that is absolutely counterproductive. And I can't help but think that those who offer this advice have never actually tried that in an actual conflict situation. Because saying anything, we need to, we should, let's do the, all of anything which you're trying to direct something away from what is going on with that person in the now, that's going to be counterproductive. That's going to be just as counterproductive as saying to someone, you need to calm down. So avoid words that include the two of you, like let's, or we need to. Now you might be wondering, well, wait a minute. Now tracking uses the word you, so what? Isn't that a contradiction? And on the surface, that does seem to make sense. However, in tracking, what we are doing is we are decoding that hidden message. We are, in this case, we are hearing the want that the other person is expressing very clearly. So, if the fight is over, over the bills and our finances and everything, I mean, what is the want? That you want things to be stable, we could go to that, or we could also validate that what their feelings are with that. So you're really concerned about this, and now depending on the size of the energy, even that might be, oh well, duh, that's what I just said. The indicator that however you're doing, and even tracking can, in some situations, can not necessarily land if it's not really connecting with the other person. You want to refrain from parroting, and that can be really challenging, because you want to find your own words. I mean, and in many cases, I've heard recommendations that you respond with words the other person has said, and the reasoning, which in a calm setting makes sense. The reasoning is that, okay, if those are the words they're using, then those are the words that are going to resonate with them. However, and that's true in a calm setting. However, in an agitated setting where emotions are high, it's completely counterproductive. Why? Because it comes across to the person who is upset, it comes across like you're mocking them, like you're making fun of them. No matter what the intention was. Intentions don't matter. Your intentions don't matter. You have the best intentions in all of this. And even, the intention behind, I understand, the intention behind, let's work together. Those are wonderful intentions. I want to solve the problem. And in my experience, they just don't work. They just don't land. So if you find yourself in this kind of situation where the other person is upset about something, if you can ground yourself and really hear deeply what the want of that person is, then you'll be able to respond with that and connect. And then once they have felt fully heard. It is almost impossible to stay upset when you experience the other person as really getting what is going on with you. It is almost impossible. And that's the trick. You are not trying to get them to calm down. You are not trying to lower the temperature. You are not trying to do it. All you're trying to do is hear, validate, understand in such a way that they feel heard, understood, and validated. And when they do, it just is a natural case that the energy goes down. So please leave your experience in the comments. I really would like to hear some other points of view. And if you want, in my opinion, one of the best ways to deal with this sort of thing, I'll put a link in the chat where you can download a free report called No More Arguments. And that gives a comprehensive explanation and of the approach of tracking as applied to situations of conflict. And so until then, remember that listening is all about loving.